Well, I would like to apologize for cutting that part one of the video off. Um, I was actually gonna go ahead and do one full video, but I cut the video off inadvertently, and I think I might have been in the middle of a sentence. I know where I was, know what I was talking about at the time, but I inadvertently cut it off, and because I think I was probably close to an hour in on the video, I decided I wasn't gonna redo that full aspect, and I'll just go ahead and finish up with the rest of it. Uh, as I, who was that? Paul Harvey used to say, finish up the rest of the story. So get your popcorn back, or if you still have it from the first time, and we're gonna go ahead and finish what I started. And I think I'd stop where we're talking about food company over in Australia, and they had changed the name of one of their cheese products. The name of the product was, uh, I mean, not funny, but uh, for years it had been titled or named Coon Cheese. And they actually changed the name to Cheer Cheese. And Dixie Beer out of New Orleans is planning on changing its name. The singing group, the Dixie Chicks, won't be known as the Dixie Chicks anymore. They're just going to be called the Chicks. The Canadian football team, the Edmonton Eskimos, looking to change their name. There's a grit maker named Geechee Boy Mill, I think, and they're considering changing the name since Geechee is considered an African American dialect. So you know the name of it is offensive. Mutual of Omaha is removing the Native American logo. I mean, how long has the Mutual of Omaha been around? And I mean, I don't know if the Native American complained or it was somebody else complaining. I mean, I don't know. You know, a lot of these things are Native American in nature. So I don't know. But here recently, a mother was kicked off in an airplane because a 2 year old wouldn't wear a mask. And I saw a lot of people had actually commented and said they thought it was okay. She needed to make the child wear a mask. I mean, we're talking about a 2 year old. Are we that insensitive? Y'all say that's okay and y'all remain silent. Y'all won't stand up for somebody like that. Several of your big name actresses started dressing their sons up as girls and their girls up as sons, and y'all think this is acceptable. You know, what you need to understand is what you consider acceptable and what is actually right are not the same thing. I just saw that. I don't know if you guys remember the cartoon Pepe Le Pew about the skunk. They canceled that one because they said that it now promotes rape. But the judge up there, I believe in New York a few years ago, had an obvious rape case. The guy admitted guilt. He raped the white kid, raped the black female college student, and the judge gave him 6 months because he said he didn't want to scar him for life. He didn't want to mess up his college experience. And we let that get away. But Pepe Le Pew chasing after a cat, just trying to sort of seduce and kiss the cat, the female cat, is offensive. Maybe if it was a male cat, maybe we'd be okay with it. But dressing your kid up as the opposite sex is considered okay. Nestle company is rebranding some of its overseas products because they're racist. I think they have some products named Redskins, Chicos, and Beso the what is that? Negro. Those are considered offensive names. I think over in California, it's a restaurant called Thug Kitchen. And they called him, I was reading an article and the owner was saying that the reason they named it Thug Kitchen because they wanted to feel like they were a bad A double dollar sign. But now because white people use the name for their restaurant, it's now racist because that term only applies to black people according to black people. See how intellectually challenged that sounds? There's a school district up near Lubbock, Shallow Water. I read this the other day as well, up near Lubbock, Texas, and they had a lesson removed from a teacher's classroom because it was teaching boys and girls the rules of chivalry. Guess what happened? The parents got upset with the rules for the girls only. Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything that the assignment offered, either way. However, when you have our young ladies grow up without respect, and you have our young men grow up without knowing how to show true love, you get what we currently have in society, which is a lot of dysfunction. What have we been talking about the whole video, the last video, and now this video? Dysfunction. Dysfunction is the order of the day. Do you think we would have problems in society if women knew how to truly show their man respect and men knew how to truly love their woman? Then you have an entire group, they've almost made it an industry of single people, professional single people, wanting to give advice to people who are married or in a relationship. They're single for a reason. They cannot maintain a lasting relationship for any reason at all. Most people in society don't know how to put others first. Matthew 23 says that the greatest among you will be the one who serves. Sadly, many people are waiting on someone to serve them instead of finding a way to serve others themselves. We have colored people, and I'm not talking about blacks. We have colored people who think they will be the only one saved when Yeshua returns, even though many of them don't even believe in it. We have white people who think they will be the only one saved when Yeshua returns. And we have black people, or African American as you want to call it, who believe that they will be the only one saved. And all of them are believing in error. I mean, I think I mentioned on the last video, I might do some things on Israel and Judah and Benjamin and all of that other stuff, but I don't know yet. I still don't know. I don't know if I feel like it. Because before we can really even get into that stuff on this channel, you got to break some of your other thinking down. I saw something here recently, maybe a couple of days, a few days ago. I don't remember what it was, but a pastor up in Missouri is on leave right now. He's under fire for telling women in his congregation to dress and look hot and nice for their husbands. And his delivery may have been off just a little bit. He probably needs to read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But actually what he said rings true. He said he thinks women underestimate how visual men are. Now, I actually disagree with him on that. Because lots of women will dress up, show lots of cleavage, and show lots of leg because they know men are going to look. But when they get married and that man looks at another woman, they'll get mad. And what we need to understand is you don't stop dating your spouse just because you got married. You don't stop fixing yourself up and making yourself pretty because you got married. And that works both ways. I actually saw a picture of a man and his wife going out. And the wife had on a sheer outfit showing her panties and no bra. Well, I said sheer. It was totally a see-through outfit. When a woman goes out like this, and especially if she's married, it says a few things off the top. What it says from her in her dress is, I have no respect for my husband. I am seeking attention because my husband's not giving me enough attention. And in essence, I am still available for the right man. Because if you come out the house and your husband doesn't approve of your outfit, you're supposed to change it. And that works both ways. If your wife doesn't approve of your look, you're supposed to change it. But submission goes first the other way. And so if you don't understand that, you're probably single. And so she's saying she's still available because she's starved for attention. And so that tells me, in a sense, the husband might not be giving her enough attention, but the husband might be giving her enough attention. And she just might be one of those women who just can't get satisfied unless she has a lot of men giving her praise, because her self-esteem and her self-image is so low. It's poor. Her self-worth is poor. So she's seeking attention. It doesn't matter how much attention her husband might throw on her. It's never going to be enough. Now, I don't know. I'm not in that relationship. And men, we need to think about these things. If your woman is going out like that and you're not saying that, you're accepting of that, you need to know she doesn't respect you. Right today, we have men carrying purses and wearing dresses like their fashion statements. And over in Deuteronomy, what was that? I can't remember off the top of my head. I said in the last video, part 1, that I had written the scripture down, but I'm just talking now. I don't remember what scripture that was. It's in Deuteronomy though, but it says men shouldn't wear women's clothing because it's detestable. I know that much. There's actually a company that's advertising right now on television that when you buy their product, you are helping homeless pets. Hey, do what you want with your money and your success. But why are we more concerned about pets than people? I mentioned in the last video that pet owners were arrested for leaving their pets outside during a winter storm down here in Texas. But we actually had human beings who died because they didn't have heat. We were instructed to bring our pets inside, but not one news person ever said, go and get your neighbor or check on your neighbor who may be without heat. Pet food contains real ingredients like vegetables and chicken. But we as people are being sold food byproducts. I actually read something the other day where some idiot was saying to stop calling your pets good boy and good girl because it normalizes canine sexual dimorphism. I mean, really? There's another commercial, where a woman is carrying her pet dog through the rain because she said he didn't feel like walking. And like I said, it's raining, so he's soaking wet. She stops near the two ladies and sits the dog down on the ground, and he does what a dog does and shakes the water off of him and onto the two ladies and its owner. And so all three of them get wet. Now, I don't care what they're advertising. I don't care how much you love your pet. And the dogs I've had, I would never do that to anybody. I mean, I even had a puppy, and I have a little kennel that I kept in the house for when my dogs are puppies, because I do keep them in the house when they're puppies, but they're in a kennel. And I take them out and let them use the restroom in the yard, run around a little bit, come back in. But I had a puppy, and when I would have company, I would leave the cage open so, she could let me know she needed to go outside to the restroom or whatever and run around. But when I had company, I would put her back in the kennel because it's my dog. My company didn't come over to see my dog. So what that woman does in that commercial is not cool at all. Now I'm gonna tell you, if she'd have sat her wet dog next to me, and that dog would, I'd have probably bust her in the mud. And I mean, I'm not an advocate for, hitting women, but you don't do something like that. And like I said, I love dogs. I've had several over the years. I've even had folks give me their dogs because they knew I love dogs. And some of them didn't tell me how crazy some of them dogs were. And but you know, anyway. But I don't do animals like some of you people do today. People will invite you to their house and they will actually serve you food on the same silverware and plates that they fed their pets on. I don't care if you washed it. That's nasty. What's wrong with y'all? Hey, and I know I'm just all over the place, last couple of videos, but everything I'm talking about is a piece of the puzzle that's destroying this nation. I think I might title the two videos "Devastation of a Nation." But I've made my position clear on my voting habits or the lack thereof. You will never hear me tell you who not to vote for. But I will tell you the ones you vote for ain't meaning you're no good. But once you vote for your person, accept what your choice did and move on. Own up to when your choice makes mistakes. And see, what I found out is every time the choice of black people makes a mistake and somebody points it out to them, they always want to resort back to what the prior candidate did because they don't want to own up to their mistake, the choice they made. Black people always want to tell me stop making everything political when they get upset with legislation that's immoral, that their voting choice signed into law. Okay? But when a Republican is in office, everything is political and everything is immoral to them. So we cannot talk about their choice when it's immoral, and we can't talk about their choice when the legislation is political. So what they're saying is they don't want anyone to criticize their intellectually challenged choice, but when it's somebody they didn't vote for, criticism is fair game in an open season. We're building more churches right today, and things just keep getting progressively worse. More and more people want to go into the ministry, even women, and the Bible's pretty clear on that, very clear. So you don't have to go through the whole Bible because there's more than two places. But I know in 1 Corinthians 14, I know it talks about doing things in order, and I think it lays out the order pretty doggone good. And over in 1 Timothy 2, it tells you what a lay leader should look like, and it tells you what a lay leader should be married to. But y'all don't hear me though. Hey, there's no chapter in the Bible titled marriage. The Bible calls for order, and because we've hijacked and manipulated the Bible to fit our feelings and emotions, at the moment, everything's out of order. What's the phrase we keep hearing? Order out of chaos. Man has never brought order out of chaos because the man is the one who created the chaos. If order comes out of chaos in man's hand, what you will get is a form of slavery. That's how man creates order out of chaos. He created chaos so he can enslave you while he's controlling the order. In the 1960s is when the pastoral council, there used to be a pastoral council that used to meet with Hollywood executives to tell them if their moves were family friendly enough. before they released them on the big screen. And the pastoral council stopped meeting with the Hollywood executives to review movies because they said that they didn't have time to do it anymore. And look at what we're getting out of Hollywood now. During this same period, that decade of the 60s, you almost got to call that the decade of hell. The Church of Satan was created by a guy named Anton LaVey. This decade was also the period of the civil wrong movement. It was a decade of the feminazi movement. It was the decade of the welfare state created through the Great Society. It was the decade of the free love. What's that event? The hippies, Woodstock and all that. And it was also the decade of the total breakdown of the black family. More so than any other family. You know, a lot of families got hurt, but the black family more so than anybody. When I was growing up, the pastor I grew up under was Pastor Bolton. And he taught about heaven, hell, salvation, and immorality. He also taught about God's love and grace and mercy. But he also taught about God's judgment and God's wrath, as stated in Romans 12. He taught us that God repays. What are we hearing from most of the pulpits today? All we keep hearing is God is love. We ain't hearing nothing else. So many people are being led straight to hell because they think God is only love. And so they don't know nothing about repentance. They don't know nothing about heaven and hell. Oh, they know about heaven, but they don't know nothing about hell. They don't know nothing about mercy. They don't know about nothing. They're not being taught about salvation. They're not being taught about immorality. What did I tell you Pastor Geno Jennings said in the last video? About certain people leading and holding positions in your church. And so that's why so many people are going to be led astray, because they think God is only love. Did you hear what I said about God in that previous video, part 1 of this? When I said God said He's going to open up the storeroom and pull out his weapons. Does that sound like a God of love? Oh, don't make no mistake, God is love, but He's a lot more than that. So now I'm not going to lay that at the feet of the pastors by themselves, because as an adult, you should be studying this stuff for yourself. You can only get so much in a 30-minute, 45-minute, hour and a half message once a week. You're only going to get so much. You got to be studying that stuff on your own. That's what I started doing years ago. And it was amazing what I found when I started studying. I mean, I was brought up to trust the man of the cloth. We never talked much about church or the Bible when we weren't at the church. So there was no reason as a child to seek it out. I mean, as a kid, church was something you had to do. It wasn't something that was made full of joy. It was something you had to do. I mean, some Sunday services, we had 3 church services. You know, we had Sunday school. Then we had 11 o'clock worship service. And then we would have, they do it at 3:30 now, but we had what they call a 3 o'clock afternoon service. You know, the service is when the visiting preachers come in, so your pastor allowed them to fleece his congregation. And, you know, and once a month, we would have communion Sunday. That would be at 7 o'clock on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night. And I really hated those services because I had to get up and go to school the next day. And up until I got, you know, old enough, my bedtime was 9. So now we got to get back home and get ready to go to bed and get ready to go to school the next day. Now I already had to go to bed early on Saturday night because we had to be to Sunday school for 9:30. So there was not a whole lot of fun going to church as a kid. And so the only time we talked about the Bible was when my dad would tell me how good God had been to it. And if you don't work, you shouldn't eat. There was never any talk at my house about the roles of men and women from a biblical perspective. And if you understood the things going on in the house I grew up in, you would understand why. There were never any conversations about the Bible in our house as a family. My wife and I talk about the Bible daily. Sometimes I think I talk too much, but at least the conversation is there. Well, a lot of times one-sided, but we will talk about the things together. But I know as an adult what was lacking in my home growing up. I know what we're battling right now, not only as a nation and as a community, but in each one of our homes. The enemy attacks the home first by whatever means he can. And there are a few ways he does that. He'll attack your finances. How many people are struggling financially with what transpired exactly a year ago? He'll attack your marriage. He'll attack your health. He'll attack your immediate family. I mean, and there are a few more. I think it might be one or two more areas he might attack, and I'm drawing a blank on those right now. And sometimes he'll attack all of them at the same time. So the enemy is busy, very busy. And when the enemy attacks the home, that is the start, and the home starts breaking down. That starts to break down in your community. That starts to break down as a nation. And that starts to break down worldwide. When you attack the foundation, you weaken it. The home is the foundation of the country. I know you probably never heard that, or if you had, you hadn't heard it in years. The home is the foundation of your neighborhood and the country. If we had more solid foundational homes with a proper vertical line, God or Elohim or Yahweh, Yahshua, Jesus, man, woman, children, our nation would be a lot better off. Our neighborhoods and communities would be a lot better off. Our world would be a lot better off. But let's accept everything immoral. Let's not judge. God is love. So you attack the foundation. See how long a building is going to stand if the foundation is faulty. The taller a building is, the stronger and the deeper and it has to be, and it has to be poured, dug deeper into the ground to build a stronger foundation. A house is not going to have the same depth of concrete as a 50-story building. Have you ever watched a tall building being built? I used to catch the city bus when I was in college. So I got a chance to watch many buildings in the city of Houston being built. And the taller the building was, the deeper the hole was they had to dig to pour the concrete foundation. And if you read over in 2 Timothy, I believe, chapter 3, it will actually explain where we are right now. And one of the verses in that chapter is so profound, especially today. And it says, people will do foolish things without thinking and be proud that they made a decision. It said these same people will fight against the truth and hate what is good, and their thinking will be confused. You know what else it says in that chapter? Stay away from them. It says people who are evil and cheat others will become worse and worse. What are we seeing right now? Jesus, Yeshua, even had a traitor that rode with him. You know what the problem is? The more we magnify our government God, the smaller we make the true God. Notice I didn't say God got smaller. I said we make him smaller because we only turn to him in a time of crisis. A lot of us don't turn to him when things are going good because we so proud of our accomplishments in ourselves that we think it's all us when it's good. But when things go bad, then we want to call on him. We call on him all the time. You know, even when things don't look right or look bright, call on him anyway. You know, we don't always understand, but we know it's going to be something good on the other side. And remember hearing a guy said he had a placard on his desk when he worked and said, and I think it's something similar to the effect of, in every seed of adversity, there's a seed of a much greater benefit. And a lot of times when we're going through stuff, we can't see the benefit. How do we get to the point in this country where we go to work and before we get our paycheck, we pay taxes? Then we pay sales tax to spend our own money that we've already been taxed on. Then every year we're told to file income taxes to see if the government got enough or they were overpaid by our taxes. And then when we die, everything we've accumulated that has already been taxed that we pass on to our descendants gets taxed again. But top politicians say more taxes will solve everything. How's that working out for us? Does it come across as odd to you like it does me that the average net worth of someone entering Congress is about $188,000, and after one term, the average net worth of those same Congress people has jumped over $1 million on a yearly salary of $175,000? So in 2 years, they made $350,000, but their net worth increased over almost $800,000. What was the old rap song? Holler if you hit me. In the last video, not part one, but in the last video, I mentioned the decline and fall, the book, The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire fell because of there were a few things, quite a few things, but I just want to mention a few. They fell from an economy that was economically unstable, I should say. They had constant wars. How many wars have we been in? Y'all think our troops over there ain't doing nothing? Biden went on and dropped some heat on Syria already to send a message to Iran. America's always in a constant war since the United Nations was founded. Overspending in this country. I mean, you just keep printing up some fiat currency, monopoly money, because we keep throwing money to everybody. You know, the stimulus package just got passed, a $2 trillion stimulus package, and 9%, I read, went to actually COVID relief, which is what they said the reason they were creating it, for COVID relief. You're going to get $1,400 if you qualify, a little bit more if you got some dependents. But 9% of $2 trillion, how much left over? Basically $2 trillion. That's going to pork projects and going to line somebody's pockets that are friends with your Congress and senators. Man, are we this slow? Oppressive taxation killed the Roman Empire. Inflation had made the gap between the rich and poor much greater. What are we seeing right now? The poor are still getting poorer, and the rich are still getting richer. I just saw something, I didn't open the article, but it said if the economy recovers, it's going to be bad for the stock market. Did you hear what I said? If the economy recovers. So let me break that down. If things get better for the average person, it's going to get really bad for the people who got all that money in the stock market. And don't believe that. And you know, them folks know how to play them games. They ain't losing no money. I mean, is the stuff I'm mentioning to you sounding familiar? And one of the things they did over in Rome, when they wanted to avoid the tax man, wealthy people fled to the countryside and set up their own independent fiefdoms. Fiefdoms. And today we have, and we've heard that many of the wealthy have built bunkers in other countries around the world. We have definitely overreached with our military, just as Rome did. How many bases does the United States have around the world? I mean, I think it's about 80 of them. Guess who's paying for all of that? The White Eisenhower warned against increasing military-industrial complex, but here we are. Another reason Rome failed. Government corruption and political instability. Need I say more? We have a guy occupying a seat in the White House who can't even form a coherent sentence. And let's not even talk about the corruption at every level of politics, all the way down to your school boards and homeowners associations. I mean, homeowners association probably the worst out of everybody. Give somebody in the neighborhood a little power and they just lose their mind. What little they had. Did you hear me say homeowners associations were bad? No. But the people that y'all put in charge of them things messed up in the head. And the last thing I'll mention about Rome, there were, like I said, there were a lot more, but we're mirroring Rome. Rome lost its traditional values. Have you been paying attention to everything I've been talking about in this one in part one? Have you? Or do you think I'm just running off at the mouth? That's probably more of what you think. I'm just running off at the mouth. Now, before I close out, I'm going to talk about a few more things. You know, I'm not going to go too much longer. But based on what we're dealing with, what we're hearing, have you actually seen the list of people who doctors and scientists say should not take the shot? Now, there's a police officer over in New Mexico right now. He's filed a lawsuit because they told him he either had to take the shot or he was going to be fired. Well, let's see how that turns out. I believe more of that's going to be happening because if you buy a car comes with a warranty. Should anything go wrong with that vehicle within the manufacturer's warranty period, the manufacturer is liable for any damages. If you buy a vehicle, you have to maintain insurance coverage on it, because if you run into somebody, you damage somebody's property, you are liable for whatever damages caused to that individual or that individual's property. If you buy a computer or electronic device, it comes with a warranty. So should it have any defects from the manufacturer's side during the period that it's covered, the manufacturer is liable for damages. But these multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies have been granted zero liability should anything happen to you after taking their shot. Do you hear me? So, the doctors and scientists, there's a group of doctors and scientists who said there's a list of people who should not take the shot. period. Now, the amazing thing is the doctors that are at the forefront of trying to get people to take the shot are telling the exact people, these other doctors inside that say shouldn't be taking the shot, that they should be the first ones to take it. The doctors that the first people on the list they said shouldn't take the shot were those who are battling cancer. And they listed about 15 different cancers. They listed diabetes. They listed autism. They listed ADHD. They listed irritable bowel syndrome. And it's a few others. I don't remember all of them. But I saw the list. Now, amazingly, the doctors who are pushing it are telling the people who have those conditions they need to be first in line. Why do you only listen to one side? Are you that intellectually challenged? When you study the Depop agenda, you might be able to recognize a pattern emerging. As I've always stated, never take anything I say as true. Study for yourself or continue to be misled. You got I remember the movie with Uma Thurman, Kill Bill. You got Kill Bill out here saying we need to decrease world population, and now the same guy is saying he wants to save the world with a 2-shot cocktail. This is the same guy who's being sued by India and some countries in Africa for the damage caused by the cocktails he gave them. Did you ever wonder how we got to the point where a guy with no medical background can dictate health policy and force drugs on us, but Dr. Sebi couldn't heal us with herbs without government always on his back? How do we get to the point where we are sick until proven healthy? The Bible told us how we got to this point. In Isaiah chapter 1, verse 5, it says the whole head is sick. We sick all right as a country. Revelation 18:4 says, come out of her, my people. And what is her? I told you what her is in part 1. Her is Mystery Babylon. Her is the Tower of Babel. Her is the United States of America. I talked about it and I gave you some of the things what Mystery Babylon looks like earlier over in Jeremiah chapter 50. Now, we may not be able to come out of her physically because most people don't have the financial resources to do that. But we can spiritually and mentally withdraw from her. You can enslave a body, but that doesn't mean you've enslaved the mind. So what the system did, it went in a full assault mode to enslave the mind. And the system has done such a great job capturing so many of the minds. Now they're coming after the body because, as one of my football coaches told us, wherever the head goes, the body has no choice but to follow. He was talking from a physical aspect on the field, but what I'm talking about is people following the mindset that is programmed into them. So your body is going to follow your mindset. And see, that goes back to something over in Romans 12:2, when it says, don't be like the world, but renew your mind to be what God wants you to be. I think it's something like that. Well, it says renew your mind. Don't be like the world. And as a side note, like I said, I'm about to close out. What we know today as Christianity used to be called the Way, W-A-Y. Europeans rebranded it as Christianity, but it used to be called the Way. You know, and the people who followed the Bible and practiced what the Bible was teaching were actually called the followers of the Way. See, that's for my black people that say Christianity was given to us. Christianity was given to the whole world. We had the way before the Europeans called it Christianity. But hey, what do I know? The book is available at Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and directly from me at myranjones@gmail.com. We'll talk to you next time.